Oh, sorry. That's why I was asking if I had any audio levels. Okay, so to rehash everything that I said over the last 10 minutes. Okay, so this is, let me flip back for a moment. I should have paid more attention to, okay. So this is what I have on my bench. I've got my Model 85 that I've added the info panel to. This is an iClass, my iClass server, one of my iClass servers. I got that, ultimately it came from North Carolina. I was saying that the really sad thing was is I got this. This is from a school system, of course, running iClass, and it had some of the data for the students on it. And it looks like even social security numbers of those students were the account numbers. The schools are really bad about that in the US, where they use the social security number as a identifier in school. Even university levels they went through, and that was your student ID, was your social security number. It's horrible. I mean, no idea for the security like we have today. And these individuals that were students are now adults, and I don't have any use for the data or anything like that. I'm not going to go through and expose that particular data for that. But the iClass server that I got from our local school system, and this has been about 2 decades ago, probably. I did a silent, it's what they call a silent auction, and that's where you go through and you submit, you mail in your based on whatever lot number the auction is, and you bid what you're willing to pay, and the school system would go through and they would list they would do an inventory of the items in that lot. And in the lot that I was interested in, and I actually went over there and looked at it beforehand, it had mostly the Model 25s and EduQuest, and that EduQuest 30 level. I think there was a couple EduQuest 40s in there. There was a there's a couple models of the 25SX as well within the lot that of the 25. So I didn't really know the difference at that point, of course. Um, I think I was just after it was all PS2s and or IBM systems with the EduQuest. And I don't think I was necessarily aware of the iClass server at that point that was in that lot. That was an M. That was a Type 3 M complex. I still have to pull out that machine. They, of course, with the Model 25s, in particular the Model 25 SX, they had the Ethernet boards on them, which is a D-Link network adapter, and it was so that's what the iClass server was set up to do, is to for those clients to have that D-Link adapter. There was the regular 8086 based Model 25s had just a D-Link board in there that was actually, it's a 16-bit adapter, boot ROM, of course, on them. And as we've seen with iClass, right, you just flip the switch. The kids would flip the switch on the Model 25 or the EduQuest, and it would go through and boot to gain them into DOS and gain them into their menus on the iClass system. So on that system that I got for my local school here, there was an admin account, and it was password protected on the Netware level, the Netware server. 3.12, 500 user license. The password for the admin account was password. And so I mean, I got into it within a matter of minutes of setting it up. And I wasn't really familiar with iClass at that time. I went through and powered it up, and it wasn't, I just kind of looking it over. But so I'm going to get through, I've gone through the iClass side of things today, but as I listed in my topic and I talked about in the video of last night, I thought I had a complete topic and I wanted to go through and I wanted to post about it, but I just wasn't sure of some elements. And so what I can do, let's go through first, and let's put this back up to where we have the LAN adapter A, and of course, as we read through, and one of the things I said earlier also, Tom, was that I have the adapters here. I have the adapters. Let's go through, let's get switched over to the, come on. Okay. And we're going to hide that for just a moment. Getting back to the setup we have here, I do have the, the older adapter that we get a picture of. And then I've got the newer style. In fact, I've got a few of these newer style, just to kind of show them up on the screen. Let's go back to our browser capture. Okay. Yeah. I realized people had simplistic passwords back in the day. And more concerned than that, you get into those, the Vel Netware and the iClass, and to have the student accounts. I'm getting a warning from YouTube. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Okay. Whatever. So, I mean, I have a static image up right now, so I don't know what YouTube is complaining about. So as long as I'm, you got audio and you see this video change a little bit. So, okay. So this adapter is pretty good performance. We learn, and of course it's at the top where it has where Alfred Arnold has gone through, and Alfred Arnold's LAN adapter shootout results. LAN A is pretty good. Going through, just going forward to that, there's the LAN adapter A, relatively late Ethernet board made by IBM, can run both in 32 and 16-bit slots and uses a National Semiconductor Sonic T chipset. All connector options, AUI, BNC, TP are available. The AUI connector is, however, non-standard and requires special adapters. I don't know if I want to get into all the results and everything else, but getting down to the bottom of the page, let's go back. And I want to get into some of the text here. Okay. So here in the block diagram, we've got the boot ROM, and I don't know if it shows. Okay, so it shows that 8K times 32 bits shared RAM and that data buffer, and that's how the adapter gets a lot of the performance here. And so, as I stated on my video, is that of last night, that the so let's go through, let's get the browser captured down for a moment. As I said, this is an Ethernet adapter, and this is purely just a boot ROM. I did give the versions of the boot ROM. I can probably get that chart a little bit more organized, but I talked about, and I'll show the post that Lionel Harris did in a moment here that got me kind of thinking about this. But I talked about where this could be pulled out of there. If you don't have a scenario where you're using the client system that has the adapter, you could pull the boot ROM out of there. The same for the ISA board. That's the equivalent. It's got that shared RAM as well, but you can go through and you can pull the boot ROM. And I was actually about ready to respond to Lionel that, hey, if you go through and pull the boot ROM, you can go through and reclaim the memory that this uses, the memory space. And granted, it's only 16 KB, but if you had the need, you could go through. And then I got thinking a little bit because I was reading on the page about the shared RAM. And so we have the topic here, running without a boot Ripple chip, and it can be physically removed and prevent the adapter from performing either the boot or RPL functions. We have the error messages here. Okay, so let's go through and scroll down to the bottom. And of course, in the text of that, and you can get into it has the installation guide at the link at the top of that as well, the PDF. So I got looking down here for the adapter BIOS ROM RAM location, because it does correctly list that there's shared RAM that's set up on the adapter as well. And so I got looking through this particular text, and of course it identifies some of the 32 KB blocks that you set the adapter at, and then some of those are 16 KB blocks. And of course, it goes through and recommends, has that text, if possible, a 32K memory size address should be selected for best throughput. So I got thinking, is the instance where it has just the 16 KB selections, is that maybe valid for if you got the Ripple ROM pulled off of the adapter, that you're just using the space, that 16 KB of space, for the shared RAM portion? Whether it's divided into halves there as far as that 32 KB size, because the boot ROM itself is only the 16 KB portion. And I got thinking on where the shared RAM and the boot ROM would be within that 32 KB space, whether it be at the lower half or upper half of that. I wanted to actually look at debug on a system that had the adapter in there, just to kind of confirm a little bit more. Now, I'm going to go through, I can probably leave. In fact, I should have actually scrolled up. OBS goes through and presents what's supposed to be the web browser view a little bit differently than what's shown on the screen here, just margins and everything else. So there's the full address space is the default of C8 000 to CFFFF is the default. And so, there's entries in there for 32 KB. There's entries in there for the 16 KB. So let me get to, and hopefully I've got all this lined up. So here is Lionel Harris's post on the CIF Facebook group. And he goes through and he talks about the installation manual in the later half of this. And he talks about using EMM 386. He talks about that installation manual, goes through, and it recommends that you exclude the addresses as shown in what the adapter uses for the configuration of the system. And I got thinking a little bit too with EMM 386, it actually scans for ROM extensions within that memory space, and it knows to exclude those areas from being reused under the memory manager. It knows when it goes through and starts up and runs, it knows what the ROM extension is, and it automatically excludes, or should automatically exclude, all the ROM extensions that it finds on the in that space. So, okay, you think that is for shared RAM alone, because, okay, and so I'm wondering if the ROM, and in fact, maybe the ROM extension has to, I think for a boot ROM, does it have to be at a particular location in the memory space? I'm not. Yeah, compatibility reasons, but the thing I noticed is that space is not able to be disabled, is the first thing I noticed. It's not able to assembly be turned off fully. And I was thinking that it was as I said, that space was kind of shared between, it had the Ripple ROM in one half of it and the shared RAM in the other. And that's why I wanted to check and empirically check on a system to see where that Ripple ROM existed, and to see if I could figure out a little bit more of what was going on. So, and we're about halfway through the hour now, because nothing really replaces empirical checks. I mean, we can see it written down there. I decided I'd like to go through and to check further. So I don't know if Alfred Arnold goes through. He had entries for the LAN adapter A, but did he go through and test when that area was 16 KB, or did he test for 32 KB? That had a variable of the performance of the adapter as well. And so also let me say at the web page that we're looking at, the bottom of the web page that we're looking at, adapter BIOS ROM RAM location, If that's only for that shared RAM, then it doesn't need to be identified that is for the ROM extension either. If that ROM extension is always at a particular location, which I really can't imagine either, it seems like it'd have to be a little bit configurable to be moved around in memory space, and you'd set the location in the ADF that, you know, it seems like that would be more adjustable than now what I'm hoping here, and like I say, I might get caught because the one aspect, let me go through and now that I gave it about let's go through, I'll show the just the bench layout for the moment, and then let's get switched over to the Netware. So, and there's not any mouse to go through, and so earlier I'd asked the question when I was muted. I said, did anybody recognize this screensaver? I switched from the coming soon screensaver to the Netware screensaver, and this is supposed to be a snake, is what they say. Well, gosh, if I go through, and I need to get the image display down too. Get to the point where, so I just have me on the webcam now, and I've got the snake, the so-called snake going around, the red snake for the Netware screensaver. Now, this snake was supposed to actually move faster if there was increased load on the Netware server. As more and more clients came on and loaded it down, this screensaver is actually on the server was supposed to go through and be quicker to match and give an indication of a little bit of utilization of the network server. Now, the other aspect is if there was a blue snake that's also was on the screen going around, that meant that the network server was a dual CPU unit, and Netware Novell Netware for the 3.11 and 3.12 level, and of course later on in the version 4, it was able to run on dual CPU systems. It did utilize those two CPUs, but that's how you told by looking at the screensaver whether it was a single CPU like this or whether it was a dual CPU that it had that blue snake. And then you saw utilization change by how fast that snake moved on the screen. So let's go ahead and just do a space bar, get the screensaver to go away. We're going to do an exit out of the monitor. And so I'm going to go through and I'm going to down the system. Okay, and there's no client stations on it at all. So this should go through rather quickly and do that. The other thing I was commenting, and I actually held the mic up a little bit to yeah, that noise is bad because I'm hearing like a hard drive hit the limits sometimes with this machine now, and that is worrisome because I need to go through and I need to back up. I need to back up the system, the hard drive on it, to go through and okay. So I was, and at least I was muted a little bit earlier. I was claiming 500 user. I guess I was thinking of Novell Netware had its version 3.12 that's on this. There's typically the 50 user license and there's a 100 user. And I have the 100 user for, I think, both of my Netware servers. And yeah, so Audio stream's current bit rate is lower than the recommended bit rate. So, and we see, you know, this doesn't have the date update on it. You see here that it says January the 15th of 1922. And of course, otherwise has, well, it's off on time since we're in daylight savings. Well, yeah, daylight savings time right now. So it's an hour off. And so I've heard and I keep hearing this, the drive noise too. It should have actually completed out of this already. System console, okay. Okay, and I think the system is hung, and at least it went through and because it should have completed by now. It just doesn't take. It didn't take this long before to go through and cycle out. So hopefully it got all shut. The file system got all shut down. I'm gonna go through and restart it. It does take a little bit of time to come up. I could go through and see. I don't know. Let's try putting the diskette in there because I don't know what's on that diskette. I had the sit diskette around that I was using there for a while, and I could boot. I could go through and boot to DOS as well and have debug on diskette. I don't know if I've got debug on that diskette. I don't even know what version. I think it's DR DOS. It's that's actually on the system underneath, and that would make sense for the Novell Netware being there. So I don't know what access I have to the debug utility. And is this drive going to quit on me? So it acts like it's booting from, okay. So this is a reference diskette. And that's cool enough too. Scuzzy device error. Okay. So this hard drive is starting to go through errors. I don't really need to do it, but let's go through and see. That's funny for all that the date and time are correct there. So let's go back. Let's look at set configuration. Okay. Ooh. And is that, and I'm not really so slot 3 and slot 7, one of those has to be the network board. Um okay, so slot 3 is probably the LAN adapter A. and I've got the SVGA adapter that's recognized in there. And that's probably because the ADF is on that reference diskette for the X, for the 9585X. And slot 7, I wonder if that is okay. So 3 is the, as I said, the LAN adapter A. Oh, so I've got another. And I was plugged actually into the wrong. I was plugged into the wrong network port. I don't think that it really mattered. But I was hoping to see. I'll have to. I'm not in a an area to go through and to get a diskette done for this right now. Although so there's an additional network board that's in there. I think it's a 3COM, and really that's not set up under the Novell Netware anyway. I need to go through and I need to pull it. And just put a blank in there in its place, because it's not, I don't have it set up under Netware. So we figured out, and so probably let's go through, since this is going to take some time. It's going to take some time to boot up the Novell Netware server again. So let's get that process started. And so what might be good, since the hard drive is even failing on this, I probably need to go through and work with that. Plus, I need to get just a DOS boot diskette with debug on it. And I'll go through and I'll look, in addition to the reference diskette, getting the file on there for the LAN adapter A, that ADF, so I can go through and at least get into the reference diskette and kind of see how things are set up. I want to make sure we don't have any errors, and I didn't have any errors on boot up before, which is interesting because I think on the page it goes through and talks about that if you don't have a cable plugged into the LAN adapter A, that you get an error on the screen. So we're hearing that hard drive go again. That's really disconcerting, to that the hard drive on this is going out. Yeah, and there we have a Scuzzy error. So this machine is it might be toast for that for the Novell Netware and the iClass server, that if that hard drive. And I think I had noises from the hard drive before on this system, and was able to get them to go away. But yeah, if we're having, and I'm hearing it on boot again. That just sounds like a And so I should have rebuilt that. Yeah, we're not going to get anywhere with this. Let me just flip back to the. Well, rats. I mean, at least I can go through an subsystem and get the drive out, and I'll have to kind of just see based from another system on whether I can get that config off of the system. I don't like to lose that utility of having that, even though it's possible to go through and rebuild the Novell Netware and the iClass stuff for me. I should have already had that backup done and gone through and tried to uh, understand that the drive is going to eventually die on me. But I can go through and I can get the reference diskette set up. I can go through and get the a DOS boot diskette with debug on it to go through to get the system configured, get that LAN adapter A at, see what address it reports there, and see where that um, where the boot ROM shows up within that space, and just to get kind of looking over what adjustments do what to that. So that is going to take a little bit of just a little bit of work today to go through and to get that. It's too bad that we weren't able to get into the empirical side of testing for that, but I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was interesting for that aspect um, of that address space and the exclusion aspect of EMM 386 going through. It should automatically exclude spaces. I don't know if there's a way to empirically check that. If you go through, if you I mean, on that boot diskette, it'd probably be pretty good for me to go through and have the EMM 386 on there, run it, and not go through and exclude that boot ROM space, just to kind of see if there's I think for even a simple utility like MSD, the Microsoft Diagnostic should show that that whether EMM 386 is reclaiming that space or not. Yeah, and that's the thought that I had too is how, I mean, all you need boot ROM, all you need is to boot initially from TD or RPL, and once your RPL is done, you don't need that boot ROM for anything else. And well, and that's what I was hoping for your input of, that you would know more about them or just know the structure of what happens. And as I say, it brings up the interesting aspect of Alfred Arnold. He went through and tested the performance of this compared to other adapters, but I don't know if he had the default 32 KB window there. The other aspect, and it talks about in the manual, and I actually had, in fact, I can put up the link for that in the chat window. And what I did is I actually went to the page in a PDF. You can give an anchor, a page anchor to and okay. So we want to start up that. So here's the relevant page in that installation guide. And that is that's the actual page it has about the entries about excluding from EMM 386. Now, it talks about that's under the heading of Windows for Workgroup, but EMM 386 is also under DOS. There's, you can go through there and you could have an environment where you exclude, you still want to exclude the space for that DOS level. And I don't think the installation manual really covered the DOS aspect as much, but I agree that more empirical testing needs to be done, and also even empirical testing on that window, whether it's 16 KB or 32 KB, how much that affects the performance of the of those adapters. And I'll get pictures to you, Tom, of the adapters themselves. We can get those up. These are in good enough shape. And this is the single copy that I have for the LAN A. And then I've got multiple versions of this. I think all of them are at that same BIOS, the same, the boot ROM is all at that same version on this one, the later card that I have. And Lionel Harris just put one of these to use as well. So I need to find out what he's got, what relative level there. We have that chart from the prior video, the information, and I need to go through and kind of update that and get that in a little bit better format, a little bit better organization, and get out my EEPROM reader too, to kind of confirm the stuff in this. Now, and as I said on the prior video, and this is a shared RAM here, of course, as it's denoted in the diagram, that even though it's not the same chipset, the ISA adapter, be it the older versions and the newer version or the later version of that 60G0611. This has the shared RAM as well. Now the configuration utility for these goes through and you adjust that. You can adjust that as well. And so I need to go through and figure out on the ISA side of how these are affected as well under the configuration utility. And as I've shown before, on the ISA adapter, they make the play on words that's the AT/Lantic. And this is, I think the PLCC EEPROM is ultimately that's that 2.20 version that's on that. But these are good. I really like these for Ethernet on the ISA side. These are nice little adapters too. And they only have that the UDP connection there. But I like working with these. I like working with that configuration utility. And I still need to show an update to that too. Because these are relatively configurable little adapters too. And just to get a little bit more information under empirical test about these adapters, in particular on the microchannel side for the for the LAN adapter A, to get pictures of them, to get just a little bit more, some of the information pinned down. And I need to go through and investigate a little bit of that empirical test about that. If you have the network cable unplugged from the adapter, as the text is on that page, that it's supposed to kick up an error. Go through and so yeah, there's the okay, of a 265 error. Internal adapter ID need to be changed. Maybe I need to see up a little bit higher on that text. So there, and that has a thing by Rick talking about that soft error. And of course, this is, in case anybody hasn't pulled it up otherwise, and I'm the one that's only able to put links on my YouTube stuff, of course. So there's the address to the LAN adapter A page, and that I'm going over right now, at least too. YouTube is going through and flashing up errors otherwise today about not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. And I wonder if need to check on my firewall here, see what to see how things are. Whether they're loaded down or what is going on here. Okay. And we'll get to the traffic monitor, traffic graph. And then it talks about, and then the audio stream's current bit rate is lower than the recommended bit rate. I'm not sure about that. Wow, I'm going through and I'm utilizing the internet connection here pretty good. At this location, it's supposed to be a 5 megabit upload, and typically for my ISP, and I've got the ISP here, and then I've got the ISP at home, and their upload rate is actually a little bit underrated. They say 5 megabit here, and it can go up to about 6 megabit, I think. And then on the on mine at home, they say 15 megabit upload, and I typically get 20 megabit out of it. So it's about a factor of a fourth higher than what they say. Yeah, and YouTube is really strange on how they complain about stuff, of course, sometimes. And even the buffering stuff is really kind of nutty sometimes. But here I'm showing a pretty consistent I'm showing a pretty consistent 4 megabit upload right now for the what I'm thinking is mostly going to be the stream. and occasionally it drops. It goes through. You can see the burst in it. The bursts last for probably about 10 seconds, and then it'll drop and then kind of reburst again. And then there's and in this instance, I'm going through and it's it'd be even kind of cool if I could show what I see here and everything else. I did a screenshot, and all my screenshots I I have it set up for the convenience of I press that print screen and it actually um it uploads the image to my OneDrive. And so I can access those screenshots I get on whatever system, on whatever Windows system I have. I can access them from my OneDrive later on and edit them and things like that. Um, so when I did that, it goes up to 6 megabit. It looks like at this location, I've got about a 6 megabit upload side, and a little bit of behind the scenes. If I go through and in the evening I record a video that gets as long as a half hour or even as much as an hour or more, I will typically go through and put it over. I've got a dock with a terabyte drive in it, SATA drive, and I will go through and I transfer the the video that I've done in OBS over to that drive, and I hand carry that home and use the dock at that location to upload it from my residence, being that I have in upwards of 3 to 4 times quicker of upload at that location. It goes significantly quicker there, of course. If I have an hour-long video, it's going to take me at least an hour, probably more, depending on the video content and compression. For the screen that we have up now, relatively static screen, with the exception of just the webcam picture, that probably compresses very well. And so, that of course is less in size for that video like that has that content. So with this, in fact, let me go through. I want to shift over while I'm looking at it. I want to go through and let's take down that static image. Now, it's supposed for YouTube, even if the video upload, it doesn't necessarily. It's more dynamic. It doesn't compress. I would think that they would always have the same relative bandwidth level that they'd have to go through. They couldn't do any video compression in real time. And that it goes through and see, as I say, I see peaks up to 6 megabit per second. And then it just seems like the average is around 4 megabit. It's funny with the camcorder, it's a lot more dynamic. It goes more over a full range of 6 megabit down to 2 megabit. And whereas the static image I was showing is relatively steady at 4 megabit upload. So that's a little bit of behind the scenes. And I've run pfSense, the pfSense firewall, for years. And I set it up to a traffic graph of my LAN. And since it does so well on the firewall side of what, can come in externally, I go through and I can focus a little bit more on the interior side and how well my network is running. And I have it at this location, and I also have it at my residence as well. So, and then again, YouTube is giving me YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. And I've never seen this. It's interesting. I've never seen this error before. Um, and there's nothing going on the download side. I don't think that there's anything going on. And the weird thing is too, I have it mapped out that there's a Google Nest, and I don't have that set up on the network. I may have the MAC address of that wrong, but and now the stream started buffering. Okay. I think it's at this end ultimately of what upload I have. And I need to go through even on I need to go through and get my other studio set up anyway to where I'll be at that at home. I can have that that better upload side, and I'll have more space ultimately to work with things too. It's just so much clutter in here right now that kind of amazing. So I've switched over to the web browser, and I really haven't seen the traffic monitor hasn't stabilized again. It's still all over the place. Peaks at 6 megabit. Now it doesn't stay. It peaks very quickly at 6 megabit, but it doesn't seem like it stays there long. And of course, the YouTube feedback, a lot of it's not in very good real time anyway. By the time that it goes through and presents something up um, on the monitoring screen for a live stream, it's already past that point. And of course, it doesn't track the concurrent viewers very well. None of that. It's really, it leaves a lot to be desired there. So, I just have to figure it out because, as I say, that error is coming and going, coming and going. And there's supposed to be a widget that's for that. Let me look at that widget and see what that tells. And stream status, it says poor. And it actually has a log of things as it goes through and progresses. Stream is from either stream is healthy, error, suggestion for that audio bit rate. Yeah, it's just all over the place. And I don't think there's anything else going on here at this location for that upload side. Yesterday I was having, of course, right after a Windows update, going through and seeing 100% drive utilization and realize I can't record during those instances. But I do want to do greetings to everybody turning in particular the international viewers. And I even wonder if I haven't seen any domestic viewers in the chat. I don't think. I think it's all been that international side. So a little bit of the wrap up on the stream otherwise is that next week, next Saturday, I will be in Dallas, Texas. I'm going to the computer reset in the afternoon. And Clint from LGR is going to be there for the weekend. He's going to be there Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. And those are the sessions. at Computer Reset that they schedule people for. Now they do a flat fee where you show up, you pay them the entrance fee, and that is per person. If you can't be accompanied by someone else, and you pay just that entrance fee for one person. Both people have to be scheduled, and it's funny because people that well, I'm bringing my wife is coming along or something else, and they say, well, we can't allow her inside unless she's got an entrance fee. Well, no, she's not interested in computers or nothing like that. And so they say, well, I guess you'll just sit in the car for 4 or 5 hours. And Computer Reset, even for that, inside the building, they don't have access to bathroom facilities. You can't go through there and you know, request to use the bathroom or anything like that. It's they they don't have that for the visitors, the buyers that are there on site. And it's in a bad neighborhood too. And in fact, it said at night you don't want to be around the area. And but I will be there Saturday afternoon. So Saturday morning, the regular scheduled time for my live stream, I don't know. I'm probably going to pack some equipment. And in fact, it might be interesting from the upload side because I might want to do a little bit of a live stream or a little bit of an update video before I go to Computer Reset at my regular scheduled time. And that's an hour earlier as it is. So my regular scheduled stream time of 10 a.m. here is going to be 11 a.m. there. And in particular for the afternoon session, and it's probably not right up on the afternoon session, but I want to be prepared or close enough, and Dallas traffic being what it is too, that you know, I want to be able to get to Computer Reset with enough advance time, going to the using the whatever bathroom facilities I need to beforehand. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go through and get a hotel room that's kind of close in a way and try the live stream from there, or just abandon entirely. I'll try and have some things set up for next week, and I'll probably be giving more information in community posts and things like that during the week. So when the stream sells into with this, the static image of the page up right now, it sells out at about 4 megabit, and YouTube doesn't give me any warnings. It tells me it's excellent. It's not hitting up on that 6 megabit limit. In fact, I'm surprised too. Before I've had this, all the times I've been doing the live stream, I haven't been warned before about anything on my upload side. I haven't received those error messages, and so I hope that that is something that's not new necessarily. That's going to start happening more and more. But so for the last 50 minutes, yeah, YouTube goes through issues all the time. And you bring up Twitch, and even though people on Twitch have their little area kind of carved out, I know Tube Time US, Eric, he does Twitch streams rather than anything on YouTube. And yeah, but like I say, for the next stream, it'll be 2 weeks from now from my next live stream from here. Maybe by that time I can be prepared enough for my other studio. I've not gone and done anything at all for it. I need to go through there and focus on cleaning up that space a little bit more and getting things set up for having more room and things like that as well. And that's a whole different set as it is. It's more of a set where I would have a podium and I have a lot of floor space around me. I can probably do a bench towards the back or something else, or a table set up there for having systems out there on the bench at the time. But it's going to be a different dynamic there. I think it'll be a little bit more open space. It allows me to work with it, and I've got, like I say, a faster upload rate at that area, so I should get any errors from my end as far as any limitation on bandwidth for the stream. And it's looking at the stream again, it's gone pretty dynamic. In fact, what I might do is even I might capture a couple images on this, and then I can do a community post at some point too, and kind of show some of the things that behind the scenes, as it were, of what happens. But I'm feeling kind of hungry right now. I was up earlier. I had to go retrieve the Model 85. That didn't work out necessarily so well. That's fine. And the I should have gone through and maybe shut down the system earlier when I was starting to hear those pings, the hard drive seeking, and it did it in particular on the screensaver page, and I should have gone through and corrected that a little bit more on that hard drive before I went any further. But I'll go through and see there I'm at 2 megabit per second upload side, and YouTube is warning me not enough. So, and the nice thing here too, when I do the screen save, when I capture these screenshots, I've got on my display in front of me, I've got the graph, but off to the side in other windows, I've got my YouTube, the chat window and all the information about the stream. And so it gets a picture of that. It captures all the screens at once. And so if I get a particular error, I can actually show it on the, I can actually consolidate those images a little bit. And so I'll go through. And so I was saying before I started rambling again, that and I'll go through and make sure on the next time too about the audio going in, because I wasn't aware I was muted and other things. But I'm feeling a little bit hungry right now. I'm going to go through and I'll wrap up the stream to go through where I can have my what amounts to breakfast here, and get started on my day and start working on the diskettes that I can run on my Model 85. In fact, I'll probably go through and put another Scuzzy drive on temporarily, whether it's small enough or whatever else, just to get DOS on there. And I'm just still looking at errors. There's a kind of a big block. I should have captured it at the time, but yeah. And of course, you're in supper time, or your later evening meal. But I'll see you, Tom. Thanks for tuning in. I thank everybody for tuning in to the live stream. I thought it was a good topic to have up on live stream if it would have worked out. It didn't, but that's fine. I can go through, and whether this comes into another video, I was glad to get the input in the chat window, and I'll go through and look at some empirical data to the LAN adapter A, so we can get this written down. And I'll see everybody. You'll be able to see my videos coming up during the next week as I get ready to go to Dallas. And then I'll see what I can do for a live stream while I'm there, or at least a little bit of video content. They don't want to let people record while they're in the building a lot of the time. And I get a chance to rub elbows with Clint at LGR, and hopefully bring a little bit more exposure to my channel for a subscriber and viewer base and things like that. So yeah, this is IBM Museum. That's all I have for now. That's my sign out, I guess. Bye, everyone.